Okay, Spell Saga. Uh, Spell Saga is there is a card game in a tuck box that you lay out in some kind of grid for generating the topography, and then you make decisions. You encounter things from a deck of cards that can be enemies, folk, heroes, or items. That's about it. It's pretty mysterious because nobody knows actually much about it. There was a Kickstarter, I think, a long time ago. I discovered the game much later. I think it was via PNP Arcade. So this is all free stuff. Um, the only thing is that the cards that you can print are in a little bit of lower resolution. Um, and please, all you designers, do not use Hitler font. It is impossible to read. Like stuff like this. Just write normal fonts. There was another designer. This is. Uh, it's also a German designer for a game called Grim World, and it's also in this ancient German Nazi font, and I don't have any problems with the font, but it's just that it is unreadable. And if you use it in the manual, that's a bad idea. Manual should be readable. 3 random card piles, I think. Armor pile. And here is normal font. You see the difference. So this is the game area. So the 6 places that you can visit. Here's an action pile, the source pile, item pile, hero pile, story pile, armor pile. Maybe it will be too complex to play, but I'm going to give it a try. So I made some suggestions on improving the rulebook, and as a thank you, he promised me new version. I'm not sure if I'm going to wait on that. This is cute, right? Yeah, the idea of the game is that there is a story in it that can be generated and can have various orders. So every new time you play it, you will encounter different cards because it depends on the luck of the draw of the deck. So there's a personal letter. When I was growing up, I was not allowed to play this type of game. In fact, this was true of many sorts of games. Oh, like so. I am old enough to not hold any youthful aggression about this toward my parents, who did their best. They were afraid for me. They were and afraid of new experiences. They taught me to create and how to share with an audience, whether inadvertently or not. This was the anchor I needed while growing up in a turbulent storm of no social skills and poor choices. Making things gave me a purpose. I might have started making them because I wasn't allowed to play them, but the things I made would grow to overcome any fear on their behalf. When I was 12 years old, I saw a friend playing a game that I had never seen before. It was a JRPG on his television. It was called Final Fantasy VII. I have spent the better part of my life falling back toward that moment, attempting to grab at the nostalgia while pulling myself to the present. Both the games that I made and the stories that I told began to feel very much like that JRPG, and for 18 years, at least in my creative endeavors, nothing from that moment has changed. When I was 25, I had nearly choked to death just on being 25, as I think most of us do. The new experiences my parents feared had grown considerably, and I found myself away from friends, away from home, with what appeared to be no real amount of skills to succeed in the real world. Every part of my life had fallen apart, and I hung all of my purpose on making things. Spell Saga started sometime in the late winter of 2009. My loneliness had led me to try and make a game I could play by myself, and something that felt as close to that moment I had with a television at age 12. I was listening to a lot of Big Country's album Steel Down at the time, as well as my latest novel Deaths and Entrances and the Twilight's sad Forget the Night Ahead. They certainly had their effect. Nearly 5 long years occurred. As I grew older, I continued to make things, and devoted an upsetting amount of time in developing my tabletop novel, as Spell Saga came to be called. I am 30 years old now. My life got better, incredibly so, in fact, because I made better choices. Then I found my friends again. I met someone special. It was beyond luck to find she felt the same. Terrible moments occurred as well. Darkness as always, just on the edge of the horizon. But I just kept making things. And this is why you have a game in front of you to enjoy. I am not telling you any of this to brag. I am an idiot, and I will be the first to tell you. But you can be an idiot and still do wonderful things. You can move out of the darkness, from the darkness above you, as you traipse along across the world on your own. And you will experience many different worlds in your lifetime. Each of them will end. Keep moving, there is another. The love and care I felt from your fellow players is unexpected, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart. So, and so on. Spell Saga. This is tabletop novel for the first. What's it called? Not sure what it is called. Well, for the first book, second book, then there is the prelude. That's a third deck, and there's Realm Walker. That's the fourth deck. And you should only play the next deck once you, well, kind of won the previous. So they are to be played in succession. As you can see, it's mostly the same. But there are 2 random card piles. There is a wind pile. User switch on cards. This is mostly for showing the pictures. Like so. This is a letter to you. Well, shit. I'm writing this at just about the 6-year anniversary of Spell Saga. It was December the 6th, 2009 that I first scribbled a picture and came up with a name for our one-player sort of game. And here we are, now over half a decade later. I don't want to bore anyone who's already heard the tale as old as time. So, for those of you who are new, I was sad and alone and I made a game to escape it. Now you are playing the latest entry into a goddamn series. So, when My friends and I started planning the fundraiser in 2012-2013. I started scribbling ideas and sketches of the world, probably just to escape the mountain-like fear of sharing my ideas. That was scary to me once. It was not long before I realized Spell Saga was bigger than I thought, and would be a story that would span several generations of characters. I created a timeline of prequels and side stories, and I decided to call them Realm Walkers. Yeah, so this is what happens when you make a game. The game starts taking over, becoming something in existence in the idea world. So, okay, eager to see how this is going to turn out. Bye.